Sigh have been one of my favorite metal bands ever since I overheard one of my coworkers listening to Hail Horror Hail back in 1997.
Hail Horror Hail!
Their ability to straddle the line between metal, prog, and orchestral music has always appealed to me. It's nearly impossible to describe the sound of this band. Their first record was produced under Death Like Silence, a black metal label formed by the infamous Euronymous, and the less said about him, the better. Fortunately, Sigh is a band that hasn't been tarnished in these ways, as far as I know, so we'll just leave it at that. As early as their sophomoric release, they were experimenting with symphonic sounds and bizarre tonal shifts. Their first batch of records were heavy and raw before they fully embraced the weird. I'll eventually cover their entire discography in a rank and review video, so I'll keep this brief, but I do think it's important to establish how creative and varied this band has been over the years. They're an acquired taste for sure, but one that has never stopped being interesting to me. Hell, some of their newer albums are among their best in my opinion, something I can rarely say about other groups who have been together this long. Shkee is their first attempt at a straightforward metal album since the early 90s. There are some brief atmospheric asides to break up the monotony throughout, but for the most part, this is a no-frills experience from start to finish. According to the description on Peaceville's website, the word Shkee itself has various meanings in Japanese, such as 4 seasons, time to die, conducting an orchestra, ceremony, motivation, color. The 2 primary themes for the album are 4 seasons and time to die. The concept and artwork is based around a traditional Japanese poem, and on Shkee, band leader Mirai Kawashima explores how at this stage of life he himself is going through autumn, with winter coming soon, and so emphasizes with the contrasting sentimental feelings from watching cherry blossoms, a symbol of spring, in full bloom. This wonderful watercolor style gatefold painted by C. Catterall certainly reflects that write-up. I'm not going to go through this thing in a huge amount of detail because it's music and, well, it's difficult to describe without a few audio clips. If I may tangentially opine, this entire YouTube record company bigwig bullshit does nothing to help traditional bands gain exposure. If I'm speaking about a lesser known group of hardworking artists, I should be able to use a clip longer than a pubic hair's length to introduce them without the risk of being demonetized or worse. It's absurd and does more harm than good. Like, I mean, yeah, I get it. Where's the line? And I know these things are being overlooked by robots, but still. Alright, so a brief overview of the first handful of tracks. Shkee kicks off with a brief ambient intro that uncomfortably swells louder in volume with shrill eardrum puncturing sounds before the thick doom-inspired dirge that is Kuroi Kage's first lick kicks in. The sequencing of tracks is on point here as this moody second piece seamlessly rolls between crunchy, thick guitar riffs and moody organ accompaniments. Next is a blisteringly quick masterpiece of a song called, I'm not even going to try to bother saying that. It is by far my favorite track on this album. When I played this for my partner who also enjoys metal, she described it as disgusting, and I can't disagree. It's an uncomfortable, filthy piece of music that goes from mid-tempo to extremely fast blast beats, then back again with high-pitched vocal screams throughout, accentuated by a really strange, almost comedic phaser sound from the keyboards. Holy hell. Now, Shikabane, however the hell you're supposed to say that, follows with its absolutely astounding drum work and experimental back section that incorporates a ton of spacey keyboard sounds. It's important to note that 2 guest percussionists from Creator and Fear Factory were involved here on Shkee. Now, I'm not a fan of either band really, but their contribution on this album is impossible to ignore. It's great. After this, things get a bit more bluesy with some of that mid-era Sigh progressiveness fans have grown to appreciate. From here, the album perfectly balances each aggressive section with chill, atmospheric breaks. I'm a sucker for well-sequenced records, and this is one of the best I've heard in a while. Laissez la Mer did a great job here from start to finish. Shkee flows nicely for its comfortable 45-minute runtime. I'll put it this way, the heavier moments are fast and oftentimes incomprehensible. Now, a lot of this has to do with me not understanding Japanese, but mostly it's just a very intrusive group of songs. But unlike a lot of heavier acts, Sigh knows when to pull back. It gives the listener a chance to regroup and collect their thoughts. There are appropriate breaks, perfectly produced and laid out. The sound quality here is superb, but the packaging leaves a lot to be desired. As a vinyl collector, I have rules. Generally, I don't pay more than a certain amount for a record. Shkee was an exception as it's the first day one Sigh release to be available on wax, so I forked out the extra dough. This is a disappointingly cheap product when it comes to packaging. As I just said, the album itself is fine, but I think it's important to reward physical purchasers with a few treats. There's nothing here, not even a download code, which has now become the new norm. The artwork is beautiful and there's some texture to the gatefold, but there's nothing more than an advertisement for the distributor within this thing. I've dumped half the amount of cash on packages like this, so there's no excuse. I almost sent this back. Two things prevented me from doing so. As I mentioned, this is one of my favorite bands and it's never been easy acquiring their work on wax. Officially, that is. Also, I contacted Peaceville and they assured me that it was Sigh's decision to release the product this way. Now, fair enough, but that's not all. The two people I spoke with went above and beyond when it came to customer service. I'm not a complainer. As a person who has run businesses my entire life, I'll never be the type to expect something for nothing. I left them a tiny email comparing this product to the ones I'm used to receiving, and not one, but two of them contacted me numerous times to ensure I was satisfied, to the point where I felt a little bad bitching in the first place. I won't go into any more detail because I don't want people to exploit this, but I'll just say I know a lot of vinyl collectors, and when I showed them these messages, they were all floored by this company's customer service. Peaceville, you now have at least half a dozen loyal fans who will support your business, and those two individuals deserve all of the credit. This is getting a bit long, but just check out some Sigh. Support this band so Peaceville continue to release their back catalog on vinyl. If you dig real music, authentic metal without that forced North American anger squeezed through artificial effects, give it a shot. If Shkee's too shrill and loud, give Imaginary Sonicscape a whirl, an older Sigh record that has a bit of everything. The next time I do one of these album reviews, it will be on that Deltron 3030 that I showed off earlier. I'm also planning on doing one of these a month, so get it into you. Sigh, Shkee, buy it, and just support the bands you like in general.
And then yeah, we jump forward again. Shiki, is that, am I pronouncing that right? Shiki?
Yeah, Shiki,
Yeah.
yes.
Shiki, cool.